The Talking Talons foster New Mexico kids to become advocates for wildlife and the environment. And students can also take advantage of hands-on learning opportunities in the field where they are taught land conservation and wildlife habitat improvement strategies.
Today we're doing some ecological monitoring, and we've got the kids doing a few different protocols. One is a line point intercept method, which measures rangeland cover, so seeing how much bare soil and what kind of vegetation is growing. And then also doing some Forest Service stand exam stuff, so that's measuring trees, seeing what the diameter is, and once we get a number for how many trees are in our 1/10 of an acre plot, then the Forest Service can extrapolate that to large areas of the whole forest and see how many trees are out there and how much fuel is in the ground.
To preventing forest fires, mainly clearing fire hazards out of the forest.
And to make the forest more healthy in the respect that each tree, each plant gets the same or the respective amount of light, sunlight, water, and nutrition, basically.
Yeah, kind of like weeding a garden.
Well, we're kind of measuring the diameter of the trees around the bottom, seeing how many branches come out from the ground of the one tree, and seeing how tall it is. We're making estimates on how tall it is, but if they're crowded together, or if they're too close, or if they're far apart.
We work with kids as young as 5th grade, usually for the monitoring, but sometimes we'll bring groups out that are a little younger than that for some other things like photo journaling. But one thing it does, they kind of demystifies science, I think. And so, you know, when you're out here, if you don't know what a pinon tree is or a juniper tree is, you know, you don't really have an opinion on it. But when you start to learn the names of things and understand what you're looking at when you're out in a forest, you start to appreciate it more. So that kind of helps kids understand why they should care about the environment, not just because someone's telling you, but because you actually know what's out there.
I've learned that I've learned that cutting down trees sometimes could be good, because I thought people who cut down trees were bad, but sometimes they're good.
The parent support on the field trips and the teacher support has been really good, keeping kids engaged, just making sure that they understand what they're doing so they don't get frustrated. Is really important, but yeah, it's always positive. I mean, they're out of school and they're outside, so I'd be happy if I was a 5th grader, not sitting in math class or something.
I think it's pretty awesome because you get to work with nature and learn all sorts of things, kind of like plants and trees and like what it's good for.
One of them was 7 inches, right? What about the other one? What a great group of kids. I love it. Well, Laurie Wearne, Talking Talons Youth Leadership Program Director, Amanda Jones, Collaborative Forest Restoration Program Educator, and Krista Bonfantine from Arid Land Innovation, LLC, Monitoring Contractor for CFRP. Woo! Join us this morning. Great to have you all with us, really. It's so inspiring to see the kids out there. I love it. And, you know, we just saw an example of one of several education programs Talking Talons provides. So tell us a little bit more about this particular program.
Well, this is one program where we brought in one of our youth groups. This is the Rio Grande Roots and Shoots group.
Okay.
And they're out at our Collaborative Forest Restoration Program site east of Albuquerque, south of Highway 66, and they're actually on the ground, boots on ground, doing some of the monitoring work that will be turned in and used in the evaluation process that our contractor will do for us.
That's wonderful. And Amanda, let me ask you this. Why involve youth in general in forest management for the CFRP? Why would you even involve them in the first place?
Well, part of what we do is to foster kids' love of nature, and so we can thereby encourage the kids to take on conservation problems in their own backyard and make those things real instead of just conceptual.
Yeah, and you know, when I watch that, I think you're setting good habits for them at a young age, so they can't get into those bad habits that a lot of us have to change at this stage of our lives, right? I mean, that's something that I noticed. So what has been all of your experience in general with the youth in the outdoors compared to maybe youth in the classroom, for instance?
Well, I've found that kids, you know, everybody's excited to go on a field trip.
Yes,
so they're very excited, they're very enthusiastic, and I think that excitement translates into absorbing the information more and then caring about it and taking it into their lives.
Such a good point. That's a great point. You think about when you go on a field trip, you do seem to learn more, don't you? When I think back. And so, Krista, how would you process and make sense of all the data that you receive?
Well, it's easy to make sense of it if the data itself makes sense.
Sure.
And so we worked hard before the project even started with some of the team members to create methods that students can implement effectively. And so, for instance, instead of using a tape that you have to put around a tree and get lines to line up and measure to the nearest 1/10 of an inch, the kids are using calipers and measuring the trees. They just have to touch it to either side, and they're measuring to the nearest 1/2 an inch. And so it's really, we're really happy with what we're getting so far, that it's accurate.
Yeah, you're getting accurate data, but you're getting it in a more practical way that makes more sense for them to do as well. And so what key information points are basically brought to light thanks to the data that you're receiving?
Well, the monitoring tracks the success of the project, whether you're meeting the goals. And so for this project, things like reducing the risk of catastrophic fire and improving wildlife habitat. And then also, if we keep up with the data and can report back to the rest of the team, that can actually help the thinning contractor, Forest Fitness, shift gears if we find that, for instance, there's too much slash on the ground or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a good, and it's got to give the kids a lot of gratification too, I would imagine, because they feel like they're doing something good.
The immersion experience, reconnecting youth to nature out in the woods. These are the next generation of ecologists, wildlife scientists, foresters. So that immersion experience is a real propelling force to get them out into environmental science careers.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, Laura. What are some of the other programs that you're providing to them?
We have a long-term funder sponsor of a program, Bernalillo County, and that's where we go into classrooms, and that program is the one that's usually most quickly identified with Talking Talons when people hear that name. And we connect youth to nature, but we bring in live, non-releasable animals, and we have a science-based program. But this is the other side of the coin, where we actually now get youth out into the field.
Well, how do we do that? How do we get them into the field?
We can call Talking Talons and schedule a meeting with me, and we can talk that over with the teachers.
Perfect. And how else can viewers support the Talking Talons? What can they do as far as playing a role?
They could go to our website, make a donation. We also have a thrift store on North 14 that accepts donations, or you can shop there. Lots of good items there, and that way support the program.
That's wonderful. Really, thank you all so much for what you're doing. And like I said, you're setting great habits for our youth and giving them a lot of inspiration and excitement as well. And they're able to help us get more data as a result of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Nikki.
Great to have you with us. And coming up next on New Mexico Style, we sit down with our good friend Chris Dunkeson to talk about Comcast Cares Day. Don't go away.